This episode of Snake Bites brought to you by Kritter Crumbles. Hey, Brian from Snake Bites here. We've done past shows on the mechanics of breeding snakes, but we're going to take this one deep and get into my philosophy behind it. You're watching Snake Bites. Let me start out by recapping the mechanics of how we breed ball pythons. Now, first off, of course, we have males and female ball pythons, but we want to keep them organized, so we keep all the females that are being bred to a specific type of animal in one group, like these het albinos are being bred to albinos. Now, basically, all we're doing is each day we're moving that male with its own male tag to the next cage that needs to be bred. We put him in here, we make sure we keep the tag on him so we know not only where he's at, but also when he goes back in his own cage, we know this is an albino number 3. It goes back into its own cage. Also, when we do witness breeding, we can say it's being bred by male 3. That way we can track which males are breeding the most and which males we want to put in with females that need to be bred. All right, so now that I have my males in with females, I'm all done, right? Not even a long shot. Obviously, this male is going to be bred to all these females right here. He's actually going to go to between 5 and 7 females, which means I have to have a rotation. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and put that male in the female's cage for 1 day. If he doesn't breed, he goes to the next female. I'm going to breed him for 3 days, and then I'm going to give him a 2-day break, make sure I get him food and give him a little rest, and then the rotation continues. So what if I do witness breeding? It's really important to keep really good records on what's going on, not only for your production this year, but when you hatch babies. Take, for instance, the Super Blast Het Ghost female. She's been breeding to a Mojave Ghost, and as you can see, when I witness copulation, I write it on the tub, and I also write it on the cage. So what we have here is 1111, number 2 male, bred this female, and also the number 2 male bred it on 1216. But you know what? That's enough about the mechanics. I want to talk about what I'm actually seeing, because after all, I'm not just throwing males in, just hoping for the best.
So it's 2012 now. New Year's Eve is always a great day for partying and having fun, exciting. We want to know your crazy New Year's Eve stories. Did you do anything fun, anything exciting? I hung out with my best friend, a lot of alcohol. She got drunk, passed out well before midnight. It was kind of boring for me. So I hope yours was a little bit better than that. Leave a comment below and let us know.
All right, so if I see a male and a female breeding, I've got babies on the way, right? Well, not so quick. Actually, it's not just about breeding, but the fact that the females grow follicles. You really want to breed the males at the proper time. Now, we use an ultrasound to scan our girls so that we know exactly what the follicular growth is. And there's an interesting topic. Now, some people think that you shouldn't even breed a female ball python until she has 13 millimeter follicles. And other people, like myself, believe that you want to get a male in that entices the female to grow her follicles. But I'm not really sure what we should do. Maybe we should turn it over to a real doctor.
This is Dr. Chewy, and I'm back. And today we're going to talk about copulations and follicles. Now, there was a camp that once believed copulation facilitates follicle growth. Wait, what's the beginning? The act of copulation is used to produce loads of follicle growth and pheromones and everything else. The opposing factions oppose hormones being released into a natural cycle. Now, this is triggered by barometric pressure and climate changes such as rain and snow on a cycle. Now, my scientific studies have proved to be inconclusive as to the veracity of other factions' hypothesis regarding the phenomenon. But further study is required. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Chewy, and on behalf of Kritter Crumbles, see you next time.
Well, that clears it up, doesn't it? The fact is no matter what camp you're in, whether you want to breed something to enhance follicle growth or actually wait till they're 13 millimeters, it's very important to start breeding at 13 millimeters or less. And you know what? If you don't have an ultrasound, all is not lost. You can still palpate your females. I've done that for years prior to getting my ultrasound. And basically all you're doing is trying to feel for follicle growth. Now, a 13 millimeter follicle is going to feel almost like the size of a BB or a little pea in them. And all you want to do, this is my technique, is get them started going into the cage, and take this finger and put it right up into their belly and let them crawl through your hands. It's really important to let them crawl through your hands and not press them, because if they tighten up their muscles, you'll never feel it. And again, I can feel little BBs in this girl, so I know she's probably about 13 to 15 millimeters. It's really important to get a male in and get a breeding right about this time. I'm trying to maximize our potential production with the way that I approach breeding ball pythons. That means that even if they get bred one time and they retain sperm, which could very well be enough to produce a viable clutch of eggs, I want to make sure to hit them at specific times. If I see a breeding at 13 millimeters, just like this Axanthic pastel is, I'm going to go ahead and shelf her till I see her about 21 to 22 millimeters. Then I want to male back in with her, and then again at about 30 millimeters. So I'm really looking for 3 major breedings. Again, 13, 21, 22, and 30 to 33 millimeters. That doesn't mean I'm not going to breed them more often, and it certainly doesn't mean that I don't breed them prior to 13 millimeters, but I think it's really important to get a male in at specific times so that they can continue to grow those follicles. Sometimes I think the breeding actually encouraged that follicle growth. That's my opinion, but I'm looking to maximize my potential production. Over the years, I've seen a strong correlation between strong feeders and females that are going to grow follicles and eventually produce eggs. Now let me back up for 1 second. Not always good feeders in the beginning of the breeding season, but once I have a male in, oftentimes a female that hasn't eaten for even a month or 2 will start to become an aggressive feeder. And during that 10 to 13, even 15 millimeter range, you want to pound them with as much food as possible. As you can see, this girl wants to eat. Again, I think that the idea behind feeding is almost to encourage follicle growth. I've noticed that animals will feed ravenously between 13 and 20 millimeters. Now honestly, they go off of food typically somewhere between 22 millimeters and 25 millimeters. So that means you only have about a month and a half to 2 months of heavy feeding, and if you feed properly, it's going to really encourage follicular growth. I also spend a lot more time breeding those animals because I think that they probably have a better chance of producing than an animal that may have 13 or 15 millimeter follicles but is really sketchy on feeding, because there's a good chance she may actually go backwards and take the year off. Like I always say, breeding snakes is as much of an art as it is a science, so I'm always looking at specific behavior patterns so I can concentrate my breeding efforts on animals that I think have the highest potential to produce. With ball pythons, certainly cool seeking and wrapping the water bowl like this female here that has 20 millimeter follicles is really an animal that I want to look at and make sure that I breed a lot, because there's a good chance she's going to produce. Again, ball pythons always will cool seek and come to the front of the cage and oftentimes wrap their water dish. That's a great sign, meaning that they are growing follicles. The next behavioral thing you're going to notice is that when the females are ready to go, they're going to move from the cool side of the cage in their water bowl wrapping, and they're going to start looking for the warm side of the cage. And then there's actually a saying, the glow before they go. And what it is, it's probably a hormonal thing. Literally, the animal starts to brighten up and get just almost a glowing effect. That's about a week before they actually ovulate, just like this girl right here. If you're just focusing on the mechanical part of breeding snakes, you're probably going to have some success, but if you can develop the art behind breeding snakes, you're going to have a lot more success. So make sure to pay attention to behavior as much as the mechanical part. You may have noticed the last few weeks, our show has been sponsored by Kritter Crumbles. Now you might say, is SnakeBytes selling out? Well, I tell you what, first off, we're only going to have sponsors that are going to, number 1, give away cool stuff, and number 2, that are aligned with our beliefs in the reptile hobby. After all, we could be sponsored by Monster's Energy Drink. Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes here! We're going to show you some kick-ass snakes, and Chewy's going to get bit by everything! Where the is my Monster's Energy Drink? We're here in the club room. Here's some king rats, some conifers. There's some black rat snakes. There's some king snakes, some brook snakes. Get out of my way. Okay, we got Heather and snakes. We got more cow snakes. We got plum and snakes, Arizona mountain, mosaic cow snakes. All these things are so kick ass. There's red king, black king, and more plums. And king snakes. Get out of my way. This would never happen, but what if we were sponsored by PETA? Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes here. This week's show is brought to you by PETA. As you can see, they won't let us in the building to show animals, so don't have much. Chewy, go ahead and do the thing. You're watching. This has been SnakeBytes. How about Disney?
Look, an ugly toad. Maybe if I kiss it, it'll turn into my Prince Charming. God, how do I get the toad back?
You don't.
AOL dial-up?
It's time for the AOL dial-up hatch of the week. Alright, Brian wasn't sure about showing you guys this because it's a super cool, brand new morph, had never been seen. Georgie and I, we went rogue, and we decided to show you anyway because we know what the fans like. Ready?
What about Apple? Oh, crap, it's time to shoot the show. Siri, shoot the show.
Brian from SnakeBytes here. Today we are going to take a look at some super sweet ball pythons. I'm not wearing any pants.
As you can see, it's a good thing that we are sponsored by Kritter Crumbles, which brings me to my point. It's the third week of the reptile and small animal bedding giveaway by Kritter Crumbles. That's right, a 3-month supply. Last week it was all about the coolest picture, and here you go. Here's the winner. Make sure to check your inbox for that message. This week, it's going to be a random person that you have to like Kritter Crumbles and SnakeBytesTV on Facebook. And we're just going to pick someone random, and you're going to get a 3-month supply of bedding. For this week's comment of the week, the question was, when do you do your Christmas shopping? And Triumph 2111 said,
I don't really do Christmas shopping. I'm pretty much a zillionaire, so it's not for lack of money. I already have a bunch of cars, boats, planes, and other toys. I guess I should get something for my butler, but I work 2 jobs, so I'm pretty busy. And oh yeah, I forgot. My parents were gunned down in front of me when I was 8. So yeah, no Christmas shopping for me.
I hope that was a Batman reference. As for me, I don't do my Christmas shopping till a couple days before Christmas, sometimes even on Christmas Eve. I hope you guys enjoyed the show and had an opportunity to look at what I see when I'm breeding my snakes. I really appreciate you guys watching the show, and I tell you what, if you want to follow me, make sure to hit me up on Twitter @SnakeBytesTV. Till next time, this has been SnakeBytes.